Okay, so this is us reading The Use of Knowledge in Society by Friedrich August von Hayek.
And I am Aditya.
Yes, this is my friend Aditya. We are doing it together.
All
So
right.
this is a beautiful first page. Let's go.
The beautiful second page and a few other pages. Oh,
Oh, one behind. Yep.
so this is supposed to be a read along for,
Yes.
people at home trying to understand the paper, and it's fairly dense, but one of the easier ones.
Yep. And what we're going to be talking about is the knowledge problem. It is the companion to the economic calculation problem of Mises, but it's far more epistemological in its roots than the knowledge problem is. So, than the economic calculation problem is. Okay.
We'll be reading, 1 to 2 paragraphs per person. We're
Yeah.
talking about it. Let's
Yep.
go.
Let's go. What is the problem we wish to solve when we try to construct a rational economic order? On certain familiar assumptions, the answer is simple enough. If we possess all the relevant information, if we can start out from a given system of preference, and if we command complete knowledge of available means, the problem which remains is purely one of logic. That is, the answer to the question of what is the best use of the available means is implicit in our assumptions. The conditions which the solution of this optimum problem must satisfy have been fully worked out and can be stated best in mathematical form. Put at their briefest, they are the marginal rates of substitution between any two commodities or factors must be the same in all the different uses.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what the hell are we talking about here, right? So the goal here that Hayek sets out is the creation of a rational economic order. That is, uh, you know, I assume that to mean that, let's say, the perfect ideal economic situation in which as many demands that can possibly be met are supplied for, or something along those lines. It's the best possible, most reasonable economic order you can build out there. And then there are certain familiar assumptions that he's taking and probably going to critique later on, that these are untrue, right? Which are, if we possess all the relevant information, if we start out with a given system of preferences, what is that? Okay. And if we command complete knowledge of available means, then the problem is purely one of logic, that if you know everything about, the preferences of all individuals in the market, and if you know all knowledge about what means are available, then it's just a mix and match, right? Like you just allocate the resources according to that information. And this type of problem has been fully worked out. It's the marginal rates of substitution between any two commodities or factors must be the same in all their different uses. So what does that mean? So the conditions to which the optimal problem must satisfy, it is, you know let's say for any given resource you have steel, right? And let's say there are two uses of steel. One is in building bridges and another is in building cars. And let's say we have all prior knowledge of where the best use of this is, right? That's part of the assumptions that we laid out. So let's say the building of cars is much more useful than the building of bridges, and we know that. So the last kilogram of steel, the last marginal unit, whatever that unit might be, it can be a ton, it can be 1,000 tons, it can be 1 gram of it, but let's say a last kilogram of steel, it will be reallocated towards the building of cars instead of building of the bridges. And we will do this so that all uses of steel have been optimized, so that there is no steel that we can shift from one use to another to make the system overall more optimal.
Yeah, but why does it say between any two commodities? So like that implies, steel and titanium.
Let's see. Hmm. Yes, but that is the two commodities are steel and the cars and bridges. That's the final commodity, right? the factors are being exchanged for.
So two commodities that go hand in hand is what I'm assuming.
Yeah. So not hand in hand. We're talking about the entire economy.
Yeah, but like for anyone to understand this, like I have to talk about something that goes hand in
It's going
hand.
to be something along the lines of 1 hour of labor time is equal to let's say 15 hours of labor time is equal to 1 kg of steel.
Yeah,
We can exchange those. That has the same price.
but that too for a very particular use case, right? For example, building a bridge.
Mhm.
Yeah. So like, um, how do I make sure, let's say it's more convenient for me to carry wood rather than plastic, right? So you can say that that's why the
Oh, we know all that.
yeah.
That's what's the given. That's what's given, right? We know everything there is to know.
But that's what Mises led with,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
No,
Hayek
no.
is going to challenge this in the whole paper.
Yes, yes. But what he's saying is if we know everything, then we just do this maths. Now
Okay.
he's going to challenge can we know everything?
Okay.
Right?
Okay. So he's saying, okay, at the end of Mises' paper, I'm assuming the final conclusion is the final dense sentence that, okay, there is a reason that the price of, transporting wooden crates, any item in wooden crates is going to be more expensive than, let's say, plastic bags,
Mhm.
right? Because it's going to be heavier and they're going to like need more men.
Mhm.
Now he's saying, okay, the first two to 3 points that I led with, if we possess all the relevant information, if we start out from a given system of preferences, if we command complete knowledge of available means, the problem remains is one of logic. And then he's like, I'm gonna start. That's priori. I
They're
don't
going
like
to
it.
deconstruct all of those things, right?
Yeah.
Like he's going to go ahead and deconstruct all of those assumptions,
Yeah.
right? Uh, yeah. So basically, if we know all that Hayek gives us, this is just math. That what remains to us is simply a mathematics problem in which we just equalize everything that we can in terms of like their marginal costs are the same. Like
But you must
the
explain,
exact amount of, let's say, labor hours
Yeah.
are given to everybody. Not exact, which is the optimal number of labor hours. The exact amount of steel is given to every particular use, which is the optimal amount of steel to be used for that particular thing. We get, in effect, perfect allocation of all resources, and it's a mathematical thing. And let's say 15, if we figure out that 15 hours of labor hours is equals to 1 kilogram of steel, then we're going to maneuver labor hours around till the point that labor and steel are at equilibrium, and then we take in another factor, and then we take in another factor to the point that the economy is complete, and then everything is in equilibrium.
So just for the sake of like the reader at home,
Yeah.
marginal rates of substitution, what is that? As the last, like when there is the last available quantity of
Something
steel,
left.
something
Yeah.
is left.
Not even the last, the current amount.
Yeah.
Let's say you are doing the allocation, right? I'm saying, okay, how many diet cokes does it do I value in front of a bottle of water, right? And let's say
Definitely more.
let's say the answer is two.
Yeah.
So everywhere where I allocate, and let's say that's the preference, right?
Yeah.
Of course, we have a variety of preferences here, but let's say that's the preference. So for every bottle of water, you got to allocate two diet cokes there. But for the next one, let's say now I value water more for the next one, right? And for the next marginal case, you're going to have, let's say, only one. But an example of what marginal utility might look like is, basically the point is that the value of something is found at the margin.
Right.
If you're really hungry, you value a food a lot more. You value food a lot more.
Yeah.
After you're fed, you value it a little less.
Yeah.
After you're overeaten, you value it perhaps negatively. That, hey, just take this food away from me. I don't want it.
Yeah.
Right. So we're not. This is mostly the marginalism point, right? The Austrians, we are marginalists. The Austrian school was, I believe, Mengner was the one who brought about the marginal revolution. in economics. And he basically, the point is, at every step of allocation, we equalize all utility. And this is assuming that we know all utility,
Okay.
right? And yep, so that I'm going to keep most of this discussion in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was a massive discussion.
Yeah.
Basically, we're at every step of allocation, at every step of the plan, given that we know everything that is posited, we are equalizing the marginal utility in
Yeah.
effect here.
Also, like this comes from the ECP, so we'll
Yeah.
we'll also probably cover that some day.
Yes.
The rest of the paper is very big and more about knowing, more about the assumptions.
Yeah.
Let's just like do the next two paragraphs.
Yep. Do you want to go for the next one?
Yeah, I'll go for the next two.
Yeah.
So this, however, is empathetically not the economic problem which society faces.
Emphatically.
Okay. Yeah. This, however, is emphatically not the economic problem that which society faces. And the economic calculus which we have developed to solve this logical problem, which though an important step towards the solution of the economic problem of society, does not yet provide an answer to it. The reason for this is that the data from which the economic calculus starts are never for the whole society given to a single mind, which could work out the implications and can be never so given. The peculiar character of the problem of a rational economic order is determined precisely by the fact that the knowledge of the circumstances of which we must make use never exists in concentrated or integrated form, but solely as the dispersed bits of incomplete, frequent, contradictory knowledge, which all separate individuals possesses. The economic problem of society is thus not merely a problem of how to allocate given resources, if given is taken to mean given to a single mind, which deliberately solves the problem set by the data. It is rather a problem of how to secure the best use of resources known to any of the members of society for ends whose relative importance only those individuals know. Or to put it briefly, it is a problem of the utilization of knowledge, which is not given to anyone in its totality. It's a very, very beautiful, like dense paragraph, which basically means that, if I'm let's say a potato seller,
Yeah.
and in a particular season I'm seeing potatoes just sell drastically. I'm gonna be like, damn, this season is for the fucking potatoes. And maybe that season it was more about potatoes and onions.
Mhm.
And I never considered that.
Yeah.
And I just bet on potatoes being this one thing that's rising, and I never bet, onions. What
Yeah.
if I never had the full picture? Who would give me the full picture?
Mhm.
Well, it would be the wisdom of the other entrepreneurs, the onion entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I-
Exactly. And it is, and this is what Hayek is doing here. He's saying that, guys, if we were able to find all the knowledge in one coherent integrated form, and and remember, I see what he's questioning is in effect omniscience. Like, if there was omniscience, then we could solve the entire economy in a math problem sitting down, right? However, there is no such thing. There cannot be any such thing. And because knowledge is, what is knowledge, right? What even is knowledge? Knowledge is basically data gathered and integrated by different individuals in the course of their own life and their own work, right? And that data is up here in their heads, and some of that data is communicated through other people. One of the means of communicating it is through the price system, right? But overall, the data is not out there in a book,
yeah.
not out there in a well indexed, neat fashion, just there. And also, a lot of this data contradicts each other.
Yeah. Like the crux, the heart of the paper is like it is at its core a critique on central planning.
Yeah.
So it's basically saying, how will you know to centrally plan everything?
Yeah, you
You
cannot.
won't know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like even entrepreneurs who think they know, they probably don't know enough.
Yeah, and
They're probably contradicting
nobody
themselves.
can, right?
Yeah.
Because and the evidence of there being rampant contradictions, people disagreeing about damn near everything, you know, and not and that is a broader point in knowledge as well, of how do you then get to resolution, right?
That's true. Even like, the other day we spoke about how Suzuki's, Maruti Suzuki Swifts in the Indian market are pretty, it's a pretty like, I won't, it's not a good hatchback per se, but because it's famous,
Yeah,
it's priced higher than, let's say, one of the good Hondas here,
yeah,
in the second-hand market.
yeah.
And it's one of those things like how even the individuals in the second-hand market, they don't know what do they want to price more.
Yes, and that's where, because one of our assumptions in the beginning was also we know preferences. Do we know preferences?
Do we? Yeah.
Like, and can we know preferences?
Yeah.
And that's something else, because perfectly knowing preferences, the best you can do is you can ask people.
That's true.
But people lie.
That's true.
The people don't know what they want, and people change.
And you've seen that meme, right? Like
It's the one meme in which, like there's the
centrally planned economy. I want pineapple today. Next paragraph.
I like broccoli now.
Next paragraph.
Yeah.
Next two actually.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we did pretty much that. And it is, to put it last, is that uh, the problem of utilization of knowledge, which is not given to anyone in totality. So remember, now we're not framing the problem as, oh, we know everything, let's just do math. It's, you don't know everything. No one person knows everything. It's distributed among variety of people. There are contradictions. So there are people, when two people contradict each other, at least one of them is wrong. Maybe it's possible both of them are wrong. It's possible one of them are wrong. It's not possible both of them are right.
That's true. That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's also the problem of who's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's that is the knowledge set that we have, and it's distributed among every person who has ever existed. And now we have to utilize it somehow.
True.
How do we do that? That's the problem to solve, right? Okay. This character of the fundamental problem has, I'm afraid, been obscured rather than illuminated by many of the recent refinements of economic theory, particularly by many of the uses made of mathematics. Though the problem with which I want primarily to deal with in this paper is a problem of rational economic organization, I shall in its course be led again and again to point to the close connection with certain methodological questions. Many of the points I wish to make are indeed conclusions towards which diverse paths of reasoning have unexpectedly converged. But as I now see these problems, this is no accident. It seems to me that many of the current disputes with regard to both economic theory and economic policy have their common origin in a misconception about the nature of the economic problem of society. This misconception is in turn due to an erroneous transfer to social phenomena of the habits of thought that we have developed in dealing with the phenomena of nature.
That's quite a dense sentence.
Yes.
With one of those sentences that leaves me, I need a second to digest that.
See, and this is something, Hayek is not an Anglo. I'm pretty sure. I don't know originally where he's from, but it's Friedrich August von Hayek, right? So it's German somewhere. And there's the problem. Like you read Rothbard or you read Rand, it's plain English. It's Anglo. It's English. You read the Germans, boy, do they make complicated sentences.
But I would also say that like Ayn Rand, if you set her free, if you pick up the right book,
yeah, no,
it's gonna be dense.
No, it's dense, but it's legible. It's far legible. And when you read Rothbard and then read Hopper,
right? Yeah, Rothbard is an easier read.
Because he's Anglo, right?
It's a convincing read.
Yeah, that's the Anglo read, right? And there's something that you see in almost all German philosophers and perhaps now even like all German writing, that it's just extremely dense and you need to think about it far more. So, he's saying, I am doing, I'm talking about rational economic organization, but he will be led again and again to deeper methodological, which I am reading as philosophical questions,
Yeah, yeah.
And another thing that, I have also discovered, which is something he's discovering as well, is a convergence of knowledge towards truth, you know, uh, namely that, he's saying unexpectedly converged, but he sees that it's no accident. A lot of times when you look at things from afar, you'd see a lot of philosophies or a lot of ideas converging towards certain truths, given they are, let's say, ostensibly pro reality, pro this world philosophies. They're going to converge towards certain truths. And, this is to be expected because at the end of the day, you're looking at the same world. And two honest individuals looking at the same world will come to similar conclusions eventually.
True,
This
true.
is what I have thought about. So there's a convergence in, let's say, primacy of existence philosophies, as I would say. All people who put reality as their focus are going to end up converging. It may be after a long debate, but the opposite kind of people, the people who put their own fancies as their focus, they're never going to converge.
True. And I like the end sentence from what I understand is just like him saying, people like socially we're like we're forming a habit of, um, assuming that this economic theory is correct, and that is coming out of, an error in our understanding of how nature is, how reality is, which builds on like what you are saying, right?
Mhm.
He has now discovered, the truth
It's
through his
something
theory.
more, something more,
Yeah.
because he's saying this misconception is in turn due to an erroneous transfer of social phenomena, due to an erroneous transfer to social phenomena of the habits of thought we have developed in dealing with the phenomena of nature, right? So what he's saying, that instead of thinking about this as a natural phenomena, which we have to, that, it's almost like, reality is out there and we need to develop habits of thought to think about it. We have transferred it to society. So it's, we were talking about this earlier, that instead of thinking in a much more productive focus,
Yeah.
a lot of communist types, what do? They talk about, oh, the stuff is already here. How do we now distribute it? It's all social now.
True.
It's as if a group of people can solve something that actually, no. You need to look at reality to solve. So
I agree. It's that. Yeah.
Because let me read it again. Of the erroneous transfer to social phenomena. So we are transferring to social phenomena of the habits of thought we have developed in dealing with the phenomena of nature. So he's saying, let's say the habits of thought means theories. So he's saying you're put a theory of nature and you're acting like it is a theory dependent upon society. That the will of society will somehow change nature. You know, it is, and let's say here he might say the nature of knowledge. And of course, like, I'll give a disclaimer to the audience that Hayek might as well not be saying that. This might be, me reading it, but it is complicated work, and I'm trying to reason through this and that's why I made it so that you can see how my brain works and how Aditya's brain works and how we usually have these conversations among ourselves. So this is to me what this reads as, and it is a correct read.
I
In
mean,
my
it
opinion.
checks out for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes sense. Like it's one of those examples. Like, why does rent control not happen? Like
Yeah.
the best way to imagine it is imagining there is one house in the whole town and two people they want to use the house.
Yeah.
Or do you just like put a number to the house, or do you say let's build more houses?
Yeah.
Or do you like just control the value of the house?
Mhm.
Well, controlling the value of the house would, it won't really, it hasn't really controlled it in any sense. It hasn't really helped.
Mhm.
At best, it's taken away the right of, the homeowner to exercise their freedom to, participate in the market freely. But it's
And also, How do you know the right value, the right number to put?
Yeah, how do you know
Right?
who's the right person to like, who
Give
wants
it.
it, who really would make the best use of it? Because it's like that example. If you give a large house to a smaller family, they'll love to have a vacant house. Hell yeah, it's a rent controlled house. They'll not make the best use of it.
Mhm.
However, a large house, if not rent controlled, will be used by a family with a kid.
Yeah.
Someone who can use the room,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or because when they stop using the room, it stings.
Yeah.
Like, why am I
Because
paying
you're
for it?
paying for it.
Yeah, why am I paying for that?
You have, as the layman would say, you have skin in the game. You have something to lose by not using the resource effectively.
True. And like the last sentence is so like it's still applicable today after 70 years of this being written.
Yeah.
That
And it will be for after 700 years.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like there are studies after studies saying rent control is bad. Empirically coming.
Yeah.
And he's saying, you know what, fuck empirics. I'm gonna approach it. I'm gonna approach it far from a lower
Yeah.
from a lower level of knowledge.
Mhm. He's saying like I'm going to go deep into rational like I'm going to do deep into principles, show you from first principles why this will never work, and then you can do empirics forever and it'll always confirm.
It truly is epistemology. How
Yeah.
do I know?
How do you know?
Yeah.
Exactly. How do you know the best use of that resource, right?
True. The next two.
Yeah. In ordinary language, we describe by the word planning the complex of interrelated decisions about the allocation of our available resources. All economic activity is in this sense planning. And in any society in which many people collaborate, this planning, whosoever does it, will in some measure have to be based on knowledge which, in the first instance, is not given to the planner but to somebody else, which somehow will have to be conveyed to the planner. The various ways in which knowledge of or on which people base their plans is communicated to them is a crucial problem for any theory explaining the economic process. And the problem of what is the best way of utilizing knowledge initially dispersed among all the people is at least one of the main problems of economic policy or designing an efficient economic system. What does this mean?
It's basically saying there's like centralized planning, which he is going to make a long argument against. But he's saying it's not that the market doesn't plan. No shit, it plans.
Mhm.
It like let's say a business which is selling vegetables. It's actively buying from, the market of vegetable sellers, the market of not vegetable sellers, like he's the vegetable seller.
Yeah.
The market of producers, the farmers. But he also is watching out for, let's say carrots, a bad season for carrots.
Mhm.
He's watching out for a bad season for vegetables in general.
Yeah.
So it's not like he is not planning.
Yeah. For example, if let's say,
He probably has cold reserves.
yes, and an example of this might be that let's say you are the consumer and you see that today carrots have become more expensive, right? So you don't buy carrots this time around, right? And let's say now I am in the business of, let's say, manufacturing some medicines which come from carrots. So I can't not buy carrots. So I'm going to buy those carrots. Now let's go one order up. Why were the carrots expensive? Well, because these carrots came from the cold storage this time around, right? So, yeah, and why did they have to come from the cold storage this time around? Because there was a pest of locusts which destroyed the local carrot crop, right? So, no, this is an entire elaborate process in which every group of people who has to interact with the good in point has to plan for it.
Yeah.
So the carrot seller has to plan for what happens if there are no more carrots tomorrow.
Yeah.
And there is carrot demand.
So basically what Hayek is saying is that it's not like the market doesn't plan. It does. It's a decentralized planning. And it's the best sort of planning because his point is that knowledge is dispersed in small quantities to these different players who interact with one another. They're not in isolation. And if they're contradictory, they're going to, pay the price for it.
Yeah.
And whether it's opportunity or like straight up losses.
Yeah.
And
also,
that's his point.
Communication is an important issue here that, somebody like the planner needs the information to plan. who gets him this information? How do we get it there?
It's price.
Right. And so, yes, that's in the market, but in the broadest sense, he's saying that for there to be any planner, the planner needs to know, like there are two people here. There's the knowers and there's the planners, right? The knowers have to inform the planners somehow, right? So who knows, like, and how do we get that communicated, right? And that how do we get that communicated is going to be the central crux between.
I think the answer is literally the next.
Oh,
Yeah, let's read
yeah,
it.
but let me just conjecturize. So I think the how do we get to know is going to be the central crux between the central planners and the market planners, right?
True.
The answer to this question is closely connected with the other question which arises here, that of who is doing the planning. It is about this question that all the disputes about economic planning centers. This is not a dispute about whether planning is to be done or not. It is a dispute as to whether planning is to be done centrally by one authority for the whole economic system, or is it to be divided among many individuals. Planning, in the specific sense in which the term is used in contemporary controversy, necessarily means central planning, direction of the whole economic system according to one unified plan. Competition, on the other hand, means decentralized planning by many separate persons. The halfway house between the two, about which many people talk but which few like when they see it, is the delegation of planning to organized industries, or in other words, monopoly. Yeah.
I think he's probably going to speak more about monopolies next.
Mhm. But let me just say a word or two here. So what he's saying is now, another thing, which is who does the planning, right? And there we have three alternatives. You know, uh, it's kind of funny that he gives the number three because Rothbard's argument is the reductio. What was that? E contrario, right? Like Rothbard's E contrario. It's a three, it's a triad of alternatives. Zulu's argument about the nap is a triad of alternatives, and a lot of people get a little bit annoyed about that. That okay, there's a triad, and for maybe valid or invalid reasons, that's not up for me to decide because I've not studied. But so far, I've been convinced by those two arguments that they're sound enough. Or at least they're sound enough given certain premises, and those premises are valid enough that we can establish them. And so here as well, like he's establishing a trichotomy, right? The trichotomy is one is we do central planning. One guy plans it all, or one committee or one organization plans it all, right? The other alternative that we have is decentralized planning, which is the market, which is the free market that hopefully we all love. If you don't love this, I appreciate the watch hours, but come to love it.
I mean, that's the point of someone who's reading the paper, right?
Yeah,
Like
come to love it.
They want the argument.
Yeah.
Like there is an element of intellectual honesty.
Oh yeah, I'm just messing.
Yeah. It's a good thing, even if you don't.
Yeah, even if you don't, it's good that you're interacting.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. And the halfway point is monopolies, which is, let's say, your local electricity board is probably something like this. They run a local, let's say, city-wide or county-wide monopoly in which they plan locally. Now, this is way better than a central system, and it's way worse than a decentralized system. You're going to get less inefficiencies than a central system does, but way more than a market system does.
Like it's
Right.
quite literally the next paragraph.
Yeah. Should I even speak at this point? What's the point?
It's literally the next paragraph.
Yeah. Which of these systems is likely to be more efficient depends mainly on the question under which of them we can expect the fuller use will be made of existing knowledge. And this in turn depends on whether we are more likely to succeed in putting at the disposal of a single central authority all the knowledge which ought to be used, but which is initially dispersed among many different individuals, or in conveying to the individuals such additional knowledge as they need in order to enable them to fit their plans with those of others.
This is a great way of putting it, because like there are times where I ask myself this exact question, like why is central planning bad? And I have all these arguments, but it's very beautifully, put into words. Like he's basically saying that it's just not efficient, bro. It's just more efficient in the hands of other individuals interacting
Yeah.
with one another and competing with one another.
Yeah, because there's just let's imagine, right? Let's imagine this way. You guys live in a neighborhood, probably, right? And you guys live in households and families, or perhaps alone. Let's assume everybody gets their own groceries. They know what they want, and they know when to do it, and they know when to go to the supermarket to do it, and so on and so forth. And they make their own plans. What if we made one guy the grocery guy, and everybody sent him the list, you know, and he did the groceries? Well, what if you changed your mind between now and the point where you got him the list? Or maybe, what if you didn't, what if you forgot something during that period of time? What if 10 other things can happen? And of course, from his side as well, there will be inefficiencies, but that is his knowledge issues or his error issues. But the unnecessary collection of all this knowledge, it how do you communicate it efficiently, right? And there's going to be problems. Somebody's going to forget something. Somebody's going to not tell the right thing, because what if the other guy thinks of me some other way?
What if I just wrote Maggie, but I wanted Maggie veg noodles?
Oh, yes.
So the atta one.
Exactly. And only you know that,
Yeah.
right? Well, what if you just don't remember?
So that's a particular flavor in India.
Yeah.
That's a lame flavor.
What if, for example, you wanted Diet Coke, but you write just Coke, right? And
What if he says, what if he sees diet going like, Coke's good enough? It's not.
Yeah. It's not.
It's 100 calories. What do you mean, motherfucker?
Diet Coke's better.
Let's move to the next two paragraphs.
This video has been sponsored by.
I wish.
I wish as well.
Okay. It will be at once. Okay, I'm going to read it again. It will at once be evident that on this point, the position will be different with respect to different kinds of knowledge. And the answer to our question will therefore largely turn on the relative importance of the different kinds of knowledge. Those more likely to be at the disposal of particular individuals, and those which we should with greater confidence expect to find in the possession of an authority made up of suitable chosen experts. Fair. If it is today so widely assumed that the latter will be in a better position, this is because one kind of knowledge, namely scientific knowledge, occupies now so prominent in public imagination that we tend to forget that it is not the only kind that is relevant. It may be admitted that as far as scientific knowledge is concerned, a body of suitable chosen experts may be in the best position to command all the best knowledge available. Though this is, of course, merely shifting the difficulty of the problem of selecting the experts. What I wish to point out is that even assuming that the problem can be readily solved, it is only a small problem of the wider problem.
Mm-hmm.
Of the wider problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I miss a word or two?
No.
Okay.
I just wanted to speak on something.
Sure.
Yeah. So, one thing I will actually critique Hayek in is actually an epistemology point. See this sentence. Where is the full stop? I don't see a full stop. This is a one sentence. You see?
Sort of person who just control our phones. But
Yeah.
I'll find a billion different full stops.
Yeah. But do you see? Like, even if there are some in here, but I don't see a full stop from here to here.
Yeah.
The problem with this sort of writing, and this is the sort of writing a lot of.
I see one here.
Oh, okay. So this is one. You know, this is a big one. Do you see any more?
Nah.
Yeah. So the problem with this sort of writing, and this is uh, m- writing you'll find a lot in academia, is it is strictly speaking anti-human, and I'll tell you why. Uh, it is something to do with something called the crow epistemology. So all animals, they have a certain working memory of the amount of things that you can keep in memory before it slips out.
Are you trying to say that he wants to overwhelm you with knowledge? So
No, not. I'm not saying he's
trying to.
deliberately trying to do
But
it.
that's the
That's
that's
the
the way
that's
of
the effect of
sounding.
it.
That's the way of sounding smart in academy.
Yeah. That's the effect of it. And this is a way academia is, let's say, gate kept from normal people.
Yeah, but like it's fair. Like of all the papers that I've read,
Yeah. But he's
the
doing that.
simplest one.
He's doing that though. Like in all honesty, you shouldn't have a sentence which is more than, let's say, 14 to 15 words.
How is this an epistemological critique?
This is an epistemological critique because, let's say, it is the nature of human knowledge, right? That at a time you can at best keep 7 things in context. If you're putting more and more and more, something's gonna slip out. And then that you're not being a good enough communicator then.
Is epistemology is really the right word for this?
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes, epistemology is the theory of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So this is part of how we gain knowledge.
Okay. So like
Right.
while we are trying to know what we know,
Yeah.
you're not doing a good job of communicating it. Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
And that's something, of course, I'm not saying Hayek made this possible. Like Hayek was the guy who came up with this. It's something that is ubiquitous in academia. And it is something that should end, in all honesty, because this is not hard stuff. But someone who's, let's say, reading it for the first time is going to get disillusioned simply because it feels hard to read. And why is it hard to read? Because you got to keep all this shit in mind before you get a full stop. Because what is a full stop supposed to mean? What is it supposed to communicate? Stop here and reflect. It's not allowing you to, because what you do in a sentence is the sentence keeps increasing. That's your mental window. It keeps increasing. Then a full stop comes. You digest it. It becomes a point in your memory, right? And then you do it with the next sentence. Then you put those 2 points together. You link them together, and let's say that's how the nodes of knowledge begin, right? However, if you make sentences too long, and Kant and Hegel are infamous for this, there are, I believe, sentences which carry on for pages.
Adam Smith,
Yeah.
Karl Marx,
All
they're
of this.
difficult to read.
And much of this is because of this. And this is where you'll see Rothbard and Rand.
Yeah.
And this is why I would say Rand's writing is so beautiful.
But like Peikoff is also like very dense.
Dense, yes, but what a Peikoff novel, right? No, not Peikoff Midnight novel. But let's say what Opar would feel like is that it's a workout for the brain, right? In the sense that
Mental workout.
Yeah, it's a mental workout for a brain, and you're gonna have to read every sentence slowly, but you will keep every sentence in mind. It will not be that you're slipping away. The feeling of slipping away will not come, right?
You're correct.
So it's hard and dense. You can make stuff as hard and dense as possible, but keep it legible. And that keep the crow epistemology in mind.
They should just like text each other and like
Yeah.
paste the screenshots. I texted my homie one sentence at a time. You know this thing. You know when.
Yeah. So, though, let me also speak on what he's trying to say. So he's going to,
Yeah, basically what he says is that like he concedes. He says, well, with science you can you can select a body that agrees.
Not a body.
Oh, well, an entity, like a council.
Not even that.
Well, he says that, right?
But then he says, how do you choose the experts?
I know, but
Yeah.
I'm building to it.
Yeah.
He says like he concedes like, okay, it is a possibility that your country, like it has the best scientists around as far as humanity knows. They're caught up. And they can determine, yeah, you should use that, or they can say that.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's perfectly eligible. It's perfectly like legible. But then he makes the argument, he's like, yeah, but like you can't do the same with economics. You can't do the same with economic policy. And like this whole sentence is basically that.
Yeah. But far more than that, like he also puts a chink in the armor of that. How do you recognize the best scientists? Right?
True. But like on top of
Because
that, he's kind of like it's one small argument and he wants you to take that to its
yeah,
reduction.
exactly. And he's saying, let's say for what he's trying to say is basically for recognized disciplines, disciplines with a long tradition of sophistication, you know, for example, like physics, for example, like mathematics, right? You could
But
have
he's
that.
not necessarily making an argument that you can't. Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh. You could have that, there are experts there which are probably better suited to tell you what it is than the average guy out there, right? However, even there, even among the experts, there will be disagreements, there will be distributed knowledge, there will be contradictory knowledge. So who's the best expert? So even there you need a market of knowledge among the experts. And there every man should, this is what I would say, every man should judge the expert, right? Like maybe you'll not know every detail of science, but if you have a good enough grasp of logic and epistemology, you'll smell bullshit on people soon enough. So you will be able to judge experts without exactly even knowing everything they're talking about. You'll know enough of what they're talking about, right? You do need context.
True.
But as you said, economics is a special thing because economics is not simply gaining abstract knowledge. Economics is allocating the physical, real objects out there.
Would you say that economics is a science?
Right? It is, for certainly, it's a social science. Any leftist who says economics is not a real science, and if you're watching this, I appreciate the watch hours, but you're very stupid. Right.
We don't do it. We give a reason. We'll get there.
So I'm not gonna argue that for now. Like if you don't believe economics is a science and you're still watching it, thank you for the watch hours then.
I mean, it's a conversation for a day.
Yeah.
So today it is almost hearsay.
Heresy.
Okay. Today it is almost heresy to suggest that scientific knowledge is not the sum of all knowledge. But a little reflection will show that there is beyond question a body of very important but unrecognized, but unorganized knowledge, which cannot possibly be called scientific in the sense of knowledge of general rules. The knowledge of the particular circumstances of time and place. It is with, just gonna move our faces. It is with respect to this practically, it is with respect to that practically every individual has some advantage over all others because he possesses unique information of which beneficial use might be made, but of which use be made only if the decisions depending on it are left to him or are made with his active cooperation. We need to remember only how much we have to learn in any occupation after we have completed our theoretical training. How big a part of our working life we spend learning particular jobs and how valuable an asset is. All walks is an asset is
In
in
all
all
walks.
walks of life. Is knowledge of people, of local conditions, and of special circumstances. To know of and put to use a machine not fully employed or somebody's skills which could be better utilized, or to be aware of a surplus stock which can be drawn upon during an interruption of supplies is socially quite as useful as the knowledge of better alternative techniques. And the shipper who earns his living using otherwise empty or half filled journeys of tramp steamers, or the estate agent whose whole knowledge is almost exclusively one temporary opportunities, or the arbitrager who gains from local differences of commodity prices, are all performing eminently useful functions based on special knowledge of circumstances of the fleeting moment not known to others. So basically what the point that Hayek is making is that, it's one of those hopeful points. Everyone belongs in the market. Why? It leads to that. Like it's one of these things that one of your friends that I recently had a conversation with, the one in NYC. He said, "Well, everyone's born with a place in the market. They don't know it. They have a place in society." When he says society, he means like
Yeah.
the broader society is gonna trade. So they like thus
Yeah.
they have a place in the market. So like everyone knows something. There I have a friend. He is great at the guitar. He knows exactly what he struggles with while picking up, particular solos. And he knows how to solve that problem. And he knows tech.
Yeah.
So he's the kind who's going to solve that. I struggle with that problem. I don't have the time. I'm not as good as him that I can pick up how to pick up, solos while looking at YouTube tutorials. Not even tutorials, like literal concerts that he watches. But he's good enough and thus he knows of the problem. Right. So like everyone has an idea of the right what was the right thing to do, was the right set of problems, what was the right way of utilizing resources.
Yeah.
Like one of the examples is, I as an entrepreneur, I struggle with, should I hire one more guy? And because I know my company, I know my market, I know how much money we're making, I can say, no, no. I'm just gonna teach the one guy who's not hit his threshold yet. Like he has far too much free time. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I like didn't like see him working.
Yeah.
And I saw how much work he can handle and how much work the other individuals can handle and how much work I can handle. But since I care, and since I am looking, and since there is a monetary advantage, I can put it all together.
Yeah.
Just perfectly. Then this part just covers all.
Yeah.
You
It's that's one thing to know general rules, and it's one thing to know the specifics. I think one way that, and as he said, like everybody will come to know this fact uh, when you go into the field, so to speak, right? It's the general rules are the most crucial thing, but they're absolutely crucial, but they're so not enough, right? You have to fill in the gap between the abstract principles and of ground reality by building up the hierarchy which got to the abstract principles in the first place. And every step of that is important. Otherwise, you actually don't even truly know the abstract principle. And you have to spiral up and down the chain, not spiral out of control, but you have to, you go down to and gain more knowledge, then you come back to what you already knew. You know it a little bit more deeply, and then you go more. You do more for example, you do more problems of a certain type, right? You solve certain engineering problems more and more. The stuff written in the book makes more sense, right? And that's the special circumstances, the interaction with the world out there and trying to apply the principles. That's what's specific. You know, there are two things. There's the general and then there's the specific.
Yeah.
The general is common to all.
Yeah.
The specific is common to you.
Yeah.
Right? It's common to nobody but you.
Yeah.
And that's what is the important thing here. That's what the dispersed knowledge is.
Yeah.
The general knowledge can be known to all.
True.
Let me tell you the most general thing that exists out there and which can be in principle known to all. Existence exists. Right? That's the most general principle out there.
But this is an economics video, man.
You, I must do 5 Hail Marys for bringing up philosophy and economics videos.
I think 5 is done. We're done for the video, guys. One will suggest a new video now. Part 1 finished, guys. Okay. It is a curious fact that this sort of knowledge should today be generally regarded with a kind of contempt, and that anyone who, by such knowledge, gains an advantage over somebody better equipped with theoretical or technical knowledge is thought to have acted almost disreputably. Disreputably.
Mm-hmm.
To gain an advantage from better knowledge of facilities, of communication, or transport is sometimes regarded as almost dishonest. Although it is quite as important that society make use of the best opportunities in this respect, as in using the latest scientific discoveries. This prejudice has in a considerable measure, affected the attitude towards commerce in general compared with that toward production. Uh, I'm going to say that again. This prejudice has, in a considerable measure, affected the attitude toward commerce in general compared with that toward production. Even economists who regard themselves as definitely immune to the crude materialist fallacies of the past constantly commit the same mistake, where activities directed towards the acquisition of such practical knowledge are concerned, apparently, because in their scheme of all things, such knowledge is supposed to be given. Okay, I'm going to say, yeah, fair. The common idea now seems to be that such knowledge should be a matter, of course, be readily at the command of everybody. And the reproach of irrationality leveled against the existing economic order is frequently based on the fact that it is not so available. This view disregards the fact that the method by which such knowledge can be made as widely available as possible is precisely the problem to which we have to find an answer.
Hmm. I want to say two things here.
Now you should really get into, what's the one theory? The labor the what's the
Labor theory of value?
the labor theory of value. Yeah.
Yes.
It kind of gets back to it. You can smell the enemy built
Yes.
into the labor
Yes,
theory
yes, yes.
value.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So, arbitrage, right? Arbitrage. It is something like, for example, let's say the hatred that people have for quote unquote hoarding and price gouging, right? So, let's say I know that I am someone who is keenly aware of meteorological studies, right? And I know that next to next year is going to be a particularly cold year, right? And that means a lot of crops will fail. And that means now I'm going to buy a cold storage and start storing a lot of crops, right? And so next to next year, when the crops fail, I'm going to be selling that on a huge profit. Much of the world today makes this illegal. Why? Because I'm preying on the need of other people. Other people didn't know this. Why should you profit when other people are starving and you're charging great sums of money? You know, it's almost as if I've swindled people.
Yeah,
Right?
like one beautiful thing that Hayek builds on is that it's a good thing that people know. It's a good thing that they can make use of the best technology, the best resources, the best knowledge.
Especially given the fact that if I didn't do this, people would starve more.
Like one example is, let's say there is a village and there is only one guy with a telephone.
Yeah.
And that guy with the telephone has access to, the next guy, like the other village. So this guy lives in village A and there is the person in village B and they both are connected. So they both can talk. And the person in village B is like, dude, I am pretty sure that my crops are getting rotten and whatever is, I'm pretty sure the clouds will catch up.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of rain. I'm pretty sure it's going to catch up to village A.
Yeah.
Well, at least the guy can prepare for it.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing to be a price gouger in that way. It's a good thing to be a hoarder in that way.
Yeah, because then more people will hold phones.
Exactly.
They'll understand the value of phones.
And that's the second part of it. How do we make it widely available? Well, social media does it.
Yeah.
Back in the day, if you wanted to be trading in the stock market, you needed a broker.
There's a finite, the solution space is finite. Yeah. Someone's gonna figure out that it's either a phone or a fucking horse.
Yeah.
And they're gonna do it.
Exactly.
They're gonna find another alternative.
Exactly.
How is this one person getting to know whenever there's gonna be rain and it's gonna ruin their carrots or whatever?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And and that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
Like a one way social media, which is something that is able to connect people on a level which we haven't seen before, right? And so distributed knowledge is able to flow more freely. Think about all of the people on YouTube or Twitter or Reddit or nobody uses Facebook anymore, but people around these areas. I'm sure people use Facebook, but
it's dying.
It's dying though. And when people on social media are able to connect with each other, they're able to spread their niche knowledge to a variety of people who might not. Earlier on, imagine you wanted to learn how to be a stock market trader. One, first of all, you would need to trade in the market. Now that has been solved. Almost every person with a phone can now trade on the market, right? And the second thing is, how do I learn? Oh, I need to go to university, right? I need to have the money and the time to put 4 precious years of my 70-year life towards going to a goddamn building. And usually it's not a good use of your time, right? Like 4 years is a lot, and there's a lot of money as well. The opportunity cost of it is just massive. And instead of doing that, what you could nowadays do is you'd go on social media and you could find somebody who's a reputable trader and he just makes videos for fun to teach people, right? And you could get a university level education through doing that.
Also, like, Hayek keeps on talking about arbitrages.
Mhm.
I would make the argument that they're important
Yes.
because someone else is going to eventually catch on to it,
Mhm.
and the market will certainly correct itself.
Yes.
Or it will not in the arbitrage.
The
and he'll
arbitrage, yes,
keep on enjoying, and he deserves to.
Because he was the one, the arbitrager is the one who broke the news. Does he not deserve compensation for that heroic task? You know, he was the one who figured it out first that, hey, people need this, and here is where it is. How about I connect them? One example is, Airbnbs, right? That people had their houses sitting and not doing much or collecting rent, and rental yields are usually lower than Airbnb yields. And and then there were travelers, and they didn't know a safe place to live. And the local hotel industry, they usually are cartelized, so they just did Airbnbs. And they saw a supply, they saw a demand, and they arbitraged them, they connected them. And now both of these people are making money. Shouldn't the guy who connected them make money? Is he swindling? Is he someone, is he a middleman taking from the middle, right?
He's earning.
He's earning.
He's earning from the middle.
Exactly. He's
In the
earning
middle.
from the middle.
In the middle, yeah.
In a lot of mainstream economics, at least I know, the middlemen are supposed to be bad people.
But one more thing is that, I would always prefer Airbnb,
Yeah.
even though I know the numbers of many hosts,
Yeah.
because I can file a fucking complaint
Yes.
and I can leave a bad review.
You can leave a bad review. You have safety. This is
Else
where
the middleman would just not exist.
Yeah,
Like the market is so strong that they would cease to exist.
exactly. Think about Uber, right? Uber or a local taxi cab. Let's say you're a woman on a dark night, and you're not feeling particularly safe, and you just want to get home. Uber knows the guy, knows the number of the cab, knows his phone number, probably can trace him. A person, you have far more trust there. You have the building of
That's
trust.
gonna ruin the sound.
Yeah. You have building of trust there that you could do that you can't have with just a local taxi cab guy. So you'd always prefer an Uber because the company it has knowledge there about the driver and can keep and if something happens to you, you're trackable. The driver's trackable.
The ride is trackable.
Yeah. The company name gets besmirched. Even if they're, let's say, not legally liable for this, the company name gets besmirched that, hey, this happened in an Uber car. Is Uber not safe enough? They don't want that.
And a competitor will definitely want to capitalize on it.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna be like, oh, fuck Uber.
Yeah.
We have women drivers. Pay 100 rupees more.
Yep.
Many women will. And you know what? They need the option.
Yeah.
Because how do you come up with the privilege of giving someone an option of a woman driver? You come up by letting things be. They come up by setting people free. They solve it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read the next
Yep.
paragraph.
Just last one. So, and this is where, the arbitrager is also serving a couple of roles here. Here, the arbitrager is serving the role of social trust. He's not just connecting the driver to the customer, he's also providing both with security.
Would you call Airbnb necessarily an arbitrager? I see why you would.
Yeah.
In the context of like hotels and Uber in the context of like taxi chains.
Yes. They're arbitraging, right? That's their business. They're connecting supply to demand.
Sure. But like, okay,
Yeah.
your Hayek meant it in a slightly different way.
Okay, but it's the same thing.
Is it more or
But
less?
but you'll see you'll see the labor theory people doing this. Hey,
Yeah. But that's envy.
yes,
And like here as well, like he's pointing out envy. It's a different form, subtle,
Mhm.
but it's the same shit. I did more.
Yeah.
You just transported the thing. Well, no. He corrected the market.
Mhm.
The market will eventually catch on. The supply will catch on if it has to, if
Yeah.
it can.
Mhm. And that's what, what happened here, in arbitrage. Like, you'll see a lot of leftists saying that no, the workers are doing the work. Uber didn't drive the cars, or Steve Jobs didn't make the iPhone.
Who directs them
Who directs them?
to do what work?
Exactly. Who connected the dots, which let them make a living.
Though I would say like I'm all in for, cooperators.
Yeah, but they don't work usually.
No. I want all sorts of options.
Oh yeah,
Like people are free to do it.
for sure.
But a random entrepreneur, no. I don't want a gun on my side.
Yes,
People are free to open cooperators.
yeah,
Fuck it. Why not?
for sure. If you can make it work, if you can make a successful company with that, that means you deserve to be there.
Yeah. That's gonna ruin the sound, so be careful. Yeah. Okay. There's this wood.
Yeah.
Okay. If it is fashionable today to minimize the importance of the knowledge of the particular circumstances of time and place, this is closely connected with the smaller importance, which is now attached to change as such. Indeed, there are few points on which the assumptions made, usually only implicit, by the planners differ from those of their opponents, as much as with regard to the significance and frequency of changes, which will make substantial alterations of production plans necessary. Of course, if detailed economic plans could be laid down for fairly long periods in advance, then closely adhered to, so so that no further economic decisions of importance would be required. The task of drawing up a comprehensive plan governing all economic activity would be much less formidable. It is perhaps worth stressing that economic problems arise always and only in consequence of change. So long as things continue as before, or at least as they were expected to, there arise no new problems requiring a decision. No need to form a new plan. That belief can change, or at least where I move pages here.
Yeah.
Day-to-day adjustments have become less important in modern times implies the contention that economic problems have become less important. This belief in the decreasing importance of change is, for that reason, usually held by the same people who argue that the importance of economic considerations has been driven into the background by the growing importance of technological knowledge. I think he's going to go on a rant about technological knowledge, which makes you want to read the next paragraph. But, the theme now becomes, why is an arbitrager of any value? Well, he's correcting the price, he's letting the cat out of the bag, he's figuring out opportunities. He knows his time and place. Like there is a time to buy a Bitcoin. There's a time to sell it and make profit. There's a time to hold it. And there is a place. The place is a decentralized exchange.
Yeah.
like there is a place for an arbitrager, maybe in Rajasthan selling, or maybe in a hot and humid place
Selling water.
or maybe something that's cold, like a cold
Diet Coke.
like Diet Coke. Let me correct my thoughts again. The place for an arbitrager would be selling matcha in India.
Yeah.
When compared to selling it in Southeast Asia, like where it's from.
Yeah.
It's like oil in Iraq and oil in the US, oil in India.
Yeah.
The prices differ.
Yes. And where to take from where it's less needed to where it's more needed, that's a job. right?
And there is virtue in it.
Yes, and that's why you're being paid.
Yeah. And it's there is one interpretation that if I was at home and I was watching this, I would be like, okay, but how is that virtuous?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not saying I'm gonna steal it away.
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm for a market which, by its very nature of existence, aims for abundance.
Mhm.
It wants to give to you.
Mhm.
Like there are several brilliant individuals who want to provide for you. So things won't be unavailable. But the people who need it the most will automatically bid it appropriately.
Yes.
Like the evil person who wants to, there is no evil person who wants to take it away from you.
Yeah.
They need
That's a caricature.
they need it.
Yeah. And specifically, the arbitrager is virtuous, in my opinion, because he sees that here there is no need, or let's say there is less need, and this guy needs it most, and he takes it from this place to this place. Should he not be paid for it? Should he not be rewarded for it? Is it not a good thing to do to, supply what is demanded, in effect?
That's true. That's
Right?
true. Yeah. So
It's like he's making the world a better place by meeting as many needs as can be for as many people as possible.
true.
And through that he makes money.
True. And like I'm sure if like Hayek was around, he would say, like if I were 2 years ago, if I heard some people speaking about this, I would be like, okay, but what if doesn't the person who wants a hospital bed, don't they need it as much as the next guy?
They
You know?
might not.
But let's say there are two people struggling similarly. Yeah, then their argument is the person with more money will be able to buy it. Well, I want a market where there are more hospital beds.
Yeah.
How does that happen? When you don't centrally plan things, when you don't set a limit, when you don't set a cap, when you don't force everyone to beg for a license or bribe you out of it.
And we can even go a little darker here. And let's say there is two people who are similarly in need for hospital beds. One is a high income family person who provides for their family, who runs a business, who does a lot of good in the world. And the other person is someone who just OD'd on some drugs and they have destroyed everything that there is in their life. Which person will be able to pay more? The guy with the family income, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, sure. I mean, there is an argument that you got to take care of your own life.
Yes.
You can't ruin it. But there are a billion different edge cases here that one
No,
might pop over.
No, I'm saying.
So I'm not even going to
in the general case, the richer guy here is the more virtuous guy. And he would probably be able to pay, even though they have the same need. The market is arranging itself such as assuming an honest free market, right? The market is arranging himself such that even on the same need, the guy paying more really does it really is more important that the bed go to him because he's providing more value out there for the rest of everybody else. Like the bum on the street's life is literally worth less than the upstanding citizen's life. At least
I would,
as far as that hospital bed is concerned.
I mean, sure. But from what I understand, I don't want to pay for either of their expenses.
Oh, no. I'm just saying how much will be able to pay.
It's an important context to set,
Yeah.
Because there are people who I would much rather want to be given the second chance. Like, let's say, there are young people who are ODing. And I have understood that, okay, these people belong to this particular strain.
Yeah.
Like, okay, for whatever reason, their lives look like this, and this. I might want to like pay for it, but I don't want the government's gun on my head to pay for everyone's, ODing or everyone's bad decisions.
Exactly.
Let them figure it out. I'm not necessarily making a claim that like
need is not the point here.
One of them is going to be like more moral.
Yeah. Well, one of the probably one
more careful.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Given that they have some capital.
Yeah. Exactly. And
But
you
again,
know,
like there are a billion different edge cases here.
oh,
So
for sure.
yeah,
You could always say that you could throw in, oh, but what if the one guy is completely horrible in some other circumstance,
yeah,
and what if all his money is stolen, and
what if, yeah, what if all of his money is inherited and like it's about to run out? What if
yeah,
his dad gave him
what if his
good
dad was
insurance?
a good guy and he's just a
Yeah,
horrible.
what if his dad planned out a good insurance? Well, I don't know.
Yeah, what there will certainly be.
But there is certainly like this thing that like in a free market there will be more hospital beds,
Oh, for sure.
more doctors,
That
more options.
the thing is, these conundrums, these moral conundrums of, oh, there's this fixed limit of supply and we have 500 hungry mouths to feed, they are not, they just don't stand in a market long term. Because you just have, like the problem, for example, the US doesn't have a fully free market, but it historically had one. And till now, it's pretty free compared to the major countries, right? Like compared to, let's say, India or Europe or China. And Europe, I'm counting as a country because in the economic sense, it really is. Like the European Union acts as one in economics.
Yeah.
And, compared to some of these larger countries, the US still has the freest possible market out there, right? And their problem is not really hunger anymore, it's obesity, right? Like their poor are obese. And when people say there is food insecurity in the US, you look a little closer and it's usually something like, oh, people are obese, but they're malnourished because they're not taking nutritious food.
What would you say about, when it comes to food insecurity, US generally has like 1 in 20. That's the last time I checked. No, that's Yara.
Yeah.
And in US it's 1 in 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Europe is 1 in 20. In US is 1 in 6.
Yes.
We're going to have to see deeper into that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times what happens is that, you're going to have, oh, the poverty, like 12% of people in the US are poor, only 6% of people in Europe are poor. Yeah, because the Europeans define their poverty 12, 15 times less than the US people do.
That might be.
Like
Also, like in all fairness, like I do believe that a freer market could have also solved it, but we'll have to.
Oh, we have to, because what is the problem that is there is, how do we, the problem is not of consumption. Consumption's easy.
And the 12% number that you're citing, I remember whatever that number is, food insecurity, right?
Yeah.
Canada is 25.
In Canada probably is. Yeah. So Canada is pretty fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Is it true that with the elaborate apparatus of modern production, economic decisions are required only at long intervals, as when a new factory is to be erected or a new process is to be introduced? Is it true that once a plant has been built, the rest is all more or less mechanical, determined by the character of the plant, and leaving little to be changed and adapting to the ever-changing circumstances of the moment? The fairly widespread belief in the affirmative is not, as far as I ascertain, born born out by the practical experience of the businessman. In a competitive industry at any rate, and such an industry alone can serve as a test. The task of keeping cost from rising requires constant struggle, absorbing a great part of the energy of the manager. How easy it is for an inefficient manager to dissipate the differentials on which profitability rises. Profitability rests, and that it is impossible with the same technical facilities to produce with a great variety of costs, are among the commonplaces of business experience which do not seem to be equally familiar in the study of the economist. The very strength of the desire, constantly voiced by producers and engineers, to be allowed to proceed untrammeled. Okay, I'll say that again. The very strength of the desire, constantly voiced by producers and engineers, to be allowed to proceed untrammeled by considerations of money, costs, is eloquent testimony to the extent to which these factors enter into their daily work.
Yes.
This is a great.
Yeah.
Great way of putting it.
Yeah, and I'll say two things here. One is that what he's saying is that what the economists are not considering, and I'm pretty sure economists nowadays at least, Austrians and Austrian adjacent economists would probably consider this, is the role of the entrepreneur or the role of the manager in keeping costs down. Like that's the entire job. The point is to be profitable. That is to keep, uh, you know, and part of profit is all it. What is profit? Profit is the difference between revenue and cost, right? So to keep the revenues up and the costs as down as you can.
That's
Right.
true. Like I'll give you one example, right? It's something that I faced. Right? I run a business, right? And we had two choices. I have one very good engineer, and I I forgot to keep tabs on what he was doing. And we had our first person churn because there was a part of the dashboard that we did not build out, which communicated the value. It served the function that they came for, but we could not communicate the value. We couldn't show them that it was an extra on top of what we already did. And it led to a churn. They just went to our competitor who showed who was what we gave and better.
Yeah.
And it happened the week that we had been wanting him to build it out.
Mm.
And it is my fault that I did not direct him to build it out. Had I directed him on time, we would have not had the churn. We would have been more profitable than we are right now.
Yeah.
Then we just shifted gears and we found who to upsell to, and then got new guys, and that made us more profitable because now we were making up for that
Yeah.
person churning.
Mm-hmm.
So who did it? It is us.
Yeah.
We had to direct the people. We had to speak to the individuals to make up for the loss, and we had to keep moving.
Yeah.
We have to be more profitable than yesterday, even with a churn.
Yeah.
Who does it? The entrepreneurs, the managers.
The managers, yes. And and this is something, the old problem of the tussle between the engineering and the management. Engineers hate managers. And you probably have been on both sides of this, knowing that you're both an engineer and an entrepreneur, and a good one at both. At least from my perspective, you probably think that you're not good.
Bro, got it.
See, every person thinks they're not good because they're looking up to the best, right?
I have my flaws.
And I look up to him because he's a much better engineer and manager and entrepreneur than I am, right? In both those regards. So you probably know this, that the engineers are going to be like, oh, if I can just make this car better, if I could just make the radiator out of gold, because
just allow me to put titanium on
yes,
this motherfucker.
Just allow me to put the best things in it. The radiators of gold, because it's the best radiative metal of gold. It's going to get most of the heat out. We're going to build the car out of titanium. We're going to make it completely aerodynamic. We're going to make the best car out there.
And it's the opposite as well,
right?
Because what you're saying is one kind, but you know what's more likely going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
The engineer is going to sit down and he's going to be like, just allow me to take away 1 millisecond away from this algorithm, just 1 millisecond away. I don't need I don't need it to be that fast.
Yeah. And that
you're going to take 1 billion years to finish up the algorithm.
Yeah.
I need it to be as slow as it is because it's fast enough.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe tomorrow it isn't. Yeah. And maybe then you can spend time, but not on the 1 millisecond.
Yeah. And that's the old problem, right? And part of that, the cost doesn't even have to, and you pointed this out, right? The cost doesn't have to be monetary. It can be time, right? Like if the engineer is spending the next 12 hours improving the algorithm by 1 millisecond, then that's not a good use of his time.
But how do we connect the dots, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what the manager does. So the manager usually has to stop the engineer in his quest to perfection in order to gain profitability.
And like even in a cooperative, you would need that.
Oh, for sure.
In any entity producing anything with different people,
if you don't have managers, you produce works of art which don't sell. Like which will be appreciated by engineers and which will be made for engineers, which will never become mass market. And you could probably make Ferrari or Pagani out of that, but you'll never make the ordinary car that people buy. Because one, they're not perfect. The ordinary cars that people buy are not perfect, but they're good enough.
Yeah, and I would say
I don't have the cost for a Ferrari. I can't buy it. I have to sell my house.
I would say, like, there is a market for, um making things that engineers find beautiful and interesting. And I
Oh,
see
for
that
sure.
a lot in the tech community.
Yes.
But I would say that there is an element of, entrepreneurship
Yeah.
when these guys are able to put two and two together, that, well, I code for a hobby.
Yeah.
And these fuckers don't necessarily have the time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write HTTPS from scratch now in C++.
For sure. And for sure, but and that's your,
HTTP.
that's your right to do in your free time, and that's a good thing to do because you're honing your skills as an
No,
expert.
no. And stream it on Twitch.
And that makes money.
And that suddenly,
Right.
there is a streak of entrepreneurship in these.
Yes. Yes. And that is a niche, that's an arbitrage in a way that you identified the need for, let's say, younger engineers to learn from you. And now you're streaming on Twitch and people are paying you money for being such a good engineer.
Yeah, even if you just want to make enough to get by.
Yeah.
Even those people, they're entrepreneurs.
Yeah, they are, for sure.
They don't want $1 million, they just want enough.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And that is entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Every person, in a sense, is an entrepreneur. A job holder is an entrepreneur,
Yeah,
he's selling something.
The fucking normie ass government people are like labeling you as like employee. You're more.
Yeah, probably you're more.
Yeah.
And and that's why, like, for anything mass market, you don't need it best, you don't need it perfect. It costs too much to be perfect. If it costs enough you need perfection for the list of things that you need to get perfection to. If I'm making a small family hatchback for India, I don't need everything to be the best. I don't want it to be the safest, fastest, sleekest looking, most aerodynamic car out there. I want a goddamn i20 and I want it now. I want it to sell for 8 to 9 lakhs, and that's enough, and people will buy it and they will have a good run for their money.
Though I'm sure you would say that the market would have looked better if they did not have so many trade restrictions and
for
regulations.
Sure. Because
It's
you know why?
planning. It's central
And
planning.
that's something the managers and engineers can unite on to shoot down the government costs. You know why? Because if the government costs are no longer there, then there is more room to build perfection.
Also, like, there's better competition. The cat would be out of the bag.
Yeah,
The consumers would want bigger cars.
exactly.
Because, like, you would no longer have trade restrictions. You would see these huge cars which will finally make it in.
Oh, for
There
sure.
would be far less taxes.
Exactly.
So you'll get better quality as a consumer.
Oh, for
Better
sure.
cars.
Far better cars. Like the shit they sell in the modern day is travesty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe your 8 to 20, your 800,000 to 2 million budget INR. It would have gotten you far more tech,
Yeah.
far more quality.
Yeah.
If there were no trade restrictions.
Yeah.
And I like it. What is a trade restriction at the end of the day? It's a form of central planning.
Yes.
Let's not have them come in and sell here.
Yeah. And like,
how do you know that's good?
You don't. You actually don't. And the thing is, it's bad actually, because
that's why you're protected.
Yeah, exactly. And
but how do you know it would work just enough? How do you define what's enough?
Yeah, exactly. It just won't. So
you want to read the rest?
Okay, I could do that.
You want to read 2 paragraphs at once?
Yeah, I could do that. One reason why economists are increasingly apt to forget about the constant small changes which make up the whole economic picture is probably by their growing preoccupation with statistical aggregates, which show a very much greater stability than the movement of the detail. The comparative stability of the aggregates cannot, however, be accounted for, as the statisticians occasionally seem to be inclined to do, by the law of large numbers or the mutual compensation of random changes. The number of elements with which we have to deal is not large enough for such accidental forces to produce stability. The continuous flow of goods and services is maintained by constant deliberate adjustments, by new dispositions made every day in the light of circumstances not known the day before, by B stepping in once A fails to deliver. Even the large and the highly mechanized plant keeps going largely because of an environment upon which it can draw for all sorts of unexpected needs. Tiles for its roof, stationery for its forms, and all the thousands and one kinds of equipment in which one cannot in which it cannot be self-contained and which the plans for the operation of the plant require to be readily available in the market. So, do we go for another one?
Sure.
Okay. This is perhaps also the point where I should briefly mention the fact that the sort of knowledge with which I have been concerned is the knowledge of the kind which, by its nature, cannot enter into statistical and therefore cannot be conveyed by central authority in statistical form. That the statistics which such a central authority would have to use would have to be arrived by precisely by abstracting from minor differences between the things, by lumping together as resources of one kind items which differ as regards to location, quality, and other particulars in a way which may be very significant for those specific decisions. It follows from this that a central planning based on statistical information by its nature cannot take the direct account of these circumstances of time and place, and the central planner will have to find some way or other in which the decision depending upon them can be left to the man on the spot.
I think it is going to build on who the man on the spot is.
Yes, but it is important to stop here and say a couple of things, I believe. You know, what statistics does is that it integrates and aggregates. It takes away what is different about things and puts them into a box. For example, let's take the concept of table. You know, uh, at a statistical aggregate would say that 5,000 tables are required. What shape? What size? What color?
By whom?
By whom? By whom? Yes, but what kind?
And there is nuance.
What's a table?
Yeah, there is nuance to usage.
Yeah.
There
What
is
material?
nuance to consumption.
Yeah. For example, let's say a table is required in a place where people work with fire, maybe in a forge,
Would you use a steel table
or a wooden one.
or a plastic one? And
Which
what
one?
sort of plastic?
Exactly. And that is what the man on the spot knows. And you cannot have all of this information going up to the Central Politburo because the way you deal with that is statistics, and statistics is an abstract mathematical term. It takes away everything that is different and leaves you with everything that is the same. But what is goddamn important is everything that is different. That's what the man on the spot does. And that's why all of these decisions have to be left up to the man on the spot. The moment you start doing statistics, the moment you start losing information. And that information is important for efficient usage and allocation and for greater profitability.
Yeah, in so many words, you're saying like, why do the numbers look the way they do, and what more?
Yeah.
Or what less?
What to get something to numbers, you had to take away something. When I say the number 5, right? I mean 5 of something, but those some things are different in themselves. These 3 things out there, these are bottles, right? But each bottle is of a different shape and different size. 2 people asking for a bottle will not mean the same thing. They need specifics. You need the general and you need the specific.
Like, for example, a good example would be 95% of all of my friends like Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Will do that?
Yeah. Which one? Which
Why?
type?
Why do they?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like,
you
what's
you
the
could go into
story?
that. Yeah. And whenever you do statistics, exactly, you lose the story. You lose the broad picture. Not the broad picture. You lose the specific narrow picture.
He's probably making the comment that contemporary economists, they make a hypothesis,
Yeah.
but they might not dig into the numbers as much as they need to be dug into.
Oh, you can dig into the numbers till the cows come home. The numbers, by the fact that you have made something a number, you have taken away local information.
Fair.
Right?
Okay.
You have taken away something that is the most important thing.
Yeah, but won't you agree that, if you keep on explaining why the numbers look the way you do, you can start off with a very nice
Yeah, but
hypothesis,
then at
which is
the
all
end of the
theory,
day,
right?
yes,
And
but
then you
at
can
the end
say,
of the day, if you keep explaining it down, you're going to reach the man on the street again,
but that's what I'm
right?
saying. Yeah.
And then why do this whole goose chase in the first place? Leave it to the man on the street.
I guess it's like it's still a good way to summarize things, but it might leave out.
It's important. It's important. The general is also important. The general science is also important.
Like, for example, I don't see economists disagreeing on the fact that, empirically, growth is good.
Yeah. Oh,
Like it's not
some economists disagree, but let's leave them.
the
in
best
that.
don't.
The good ones don't.
The
Yeah.
best.
The
Yeah.
best don't. And one example of what this kind of stuff would lead to in central planning is two examples. In the Soviet Union, it used to be that, okay, the Soviet Union needs 16,000 tons of nails. So, what happened that they used to make like these huge nails. So one nail is like half a ton. And what is that going to be used for? That can't be used to build houses. That can't be used to do anything, right? That nail is going to be having maybe one heavy machinery use case and no real use case in the life of people. You couldn't find clothes for children or for petite women because they used to say you need this much yard of cloth. So you used to make the biggest cloth possible to meet the yard requirement quota. Why? Because we lost the information. We lost the niche information. We lost the information of who we need it for.
And that's correct. That's also why, the biggest companies, they correct themselves. They still correct themselves, but they correct themselves slower than, let's say, a startup.
Oh, for sure.
Like it's the same principle.
Yes, and by the way, this applies to big companies. People say that companies get big. Bigger companies are more generic. They don't have particular niche or taste. Whereas, let's say there will be smaller firms which serve tastes. For example, take the example of a local artisan cafe which meets the vibe of the city, which is amazing, which is beautiful, which is artistic, and Starbucks. Starbucks gets you in general everything that gets.
I would still say Starbucks has taste.
Yes, but it's a common taste.
Yeah, it is more mass marketed.
It's a mass market.
Like
it loses. Yes. But it loses something. A Starbucks in Delhi and a Starbucks in New York are going to look very similar.
That's true. But there is a need for a Starbucks.
Yes,
if you've been
for sure.
If you've been in Bombay, and especially in a busy street, a Starbucks will always give you a clean bathroom.
And that's the value of it, right?
Yeah.
And the market decides.
And you won't find a good bathroom next to the fucking beach.
Oh,
the
for sure.
dirty ass beach, but a Starbucks will give you.
Exactly. And so there is a need for that. But you're also losing something. So
and the coffee will be expensive.
Yes. And also it's not going to be local. It's not going to be the best of the local cuisine. For example, if you come to Delhi and you go to the Delhi Starbucks and that's all where you go, and you don't go to Devans, like Devans is like a local coffee house in Delhi. Beautiful. You should go there.
They don't want you to make a video, by the way. Go there without your phones.
Yeah, they don't let you make a video.
No. They're very the owner is very rude about it. He doesn't like that.
Okay.
Yeah. He says he wants to preserve, from what I understand, he wants to preserve the charm in it.
Yeah, and makes sense, right? And so that's the difference. You lose the local taste, but you gain something that pretty much all people can, in principle, appreciate, right? And so that market as well, the general and the specific, the generic and the tasteful, that is also a market system. But if you make everything centrally planned, you don't even get tasteful general. You just get bad shit. Go to a government hospital, you'll see.
There was this one in the last few years, there was a huge effort to make it so that all the engineers, they're spending as many tokens as possible.
Yeah.
What do you assume? What will happen if your engineers are able to spend hundreds of millions of dollars worth of tokens?
They're gonna spend hundreds of millions of dollars worth of tokens.
But if you're a stupid manager, what would you say?
Oh, they're gonna produce so much.
They're gonna produce. Fuck it off.
Yeah.
That's not what happened. Uber lost a bunch of money. They had a bunch of money. They could lose it.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, fuck this. I don't want to incentivize.
Yeah.
Because they were still participating in a system. They could, in a free enough market system,
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah.
A centrally planned government will not figure it out for a
Yeah.
long.
And they're gonna keep losing money. And the thing is, you can't even
Any
track.
big system is like slow.
Yeah.
Any big entity is going to take some time to correct it.
Yeah, because there is just too much information to deal with.
Yeah, but it's still beautiful when these big companies are able to.
Yeah.
It's still respectable.
Compared to a national government, they're still small. You know, Uber, Amazon, all of these places, all of these companies are still very, very small compared to a national level government. Compared to the Soviet Union's central Politburo controlling everything, that's just way too big. And not way too big. It also has no competition to fill the niches. It also has no competition to communicate. It has no price systems, and that's where Mises would come in. But just keeping it in the hierarchy and framework, it has just no way of gaining information except literally going to everybody and asking, bended knees, hands joined. Like, please just tell me what you know.
How would they know if there is no market?
Yeah. And then
they won't.
That's the problem. They just don't know and they can't know. So where were we?
One reason. No. We did that. We also did this, right?
Yeah.
So next page.
No. We didn't do the last one, I believe.
We did.
Oh.
Man on the spot.
Okay. Move this there. Move this there.
Do take a look at the time. So
Hoi.
yeah, we can rush.
How much is left?
Like 10 pages.
Part 2.
Sure.
But are we sure or do we want to just rush this?
We rush it.
Okay.
Well, anyways, talking a lot about it.
Yeah.
We can do the whole page and then talk.
Okay. If we can agree that the economic problem of society is the main one of rapid adaptation to changes in the particular circumstances of time and place, it would seem to follow that the ultimate decisions must be left up to the people who are familiar with these circumstances, who know directly to the relevant changes and of the resources immediately available to meet them. We cannot expect that this problem will be solved by first communicating all this knowledge to a central board which, after integrating all knowledge, issues its orders. We must solve it by the form of decentralization. But this answers only part of our problem. We need decentralization because only thus can we ensure that the knowledge of the particular circumstances of time and place will be promptly used. But the man on the spot cannot decide solely on the basis of his limited but intimate knowledge of the facts of his immediate surroundings. There still remains the problem of communicating to him such further information as he needs to fit his decisions into the whole pattern of changes of the large economic system. So here we are saying, okay, the man on the spot knows what he knows, but how do we communicate everything that everybody else knows? Now prices come in probably, How much knowledge does he need to do so successfully? Which of the events which happen beyond the horizon of his immediate knowledge are of relevance to him, his immediate decision, and how much of them does he need to know? There is hardly anything that happens anywhere in the world that might not have an effect on the decision he ought to make. But he needs to know, but he need not know of these events as such, nor of all their effects. It does not matter to him why the particular moment more screws of one size than the other are wanted, why paper bags are more readily available than canvas bags, or why skilled labor or particular machine tools have for the moment become more difficult to obtain. All this is significant for him is how much more or less difficult to produce they have become compared to procure. They have become compared with other things is all which he's also concerned, or how much more or less urgently wanted are the alternative things he produces or uses. It is always a question of the relative importance of the particular things which he is concerned, and the causes which alter their relative importance are of no interest to him beyond the effect of those of those concrete things on his own
You
environment.
wanna stop?
No, we can keep going till the end of this page. It is this connection that I have called the economic calculus proper to help us, at least by a knowledge analogy, to see how this problem can be solved. And in fact, is being solved by the price system, as I predicted. I know this guy. Even the single controlling mind in possession of all the data for some small self contained economic system would not, every time some small adjustment in the allocation of resources had to be made, go explicitly through all the relations between ends and means which might possibly be affected. It is indeed the great contribution of the pure logic of choice, that is, that it has demonstrated conclusively that even such a single mind could solve this kind of problem only by constructing and constantly using rates of equivalence, or values, or marginal rates of substitution, i.e., that is, by attaching to each kind of scarce resource a numerical index which cannot be derived from any property possessed by the particular thing, but which reflects in which in which it is condensed its significance in the view of the whole means to end structure. In any small change, he will have to consider only these quantitative indices or values in which all the relevant information is concentrated. And by adjusting the quantities one by one, he can appropriately rearrange his dispositions without having to solve the whole puzzle ab initio or without ab initio. I said ab initio. What the fuck am I? Abito. Or without needing at any stage to survey it at once and all its ramifications. So this is the payoff.
It's just saying that, hey, you don't need to know all this.
You don't need to know anything.
The wisdom of all the entrepreneurs in the market has been communicated to you through
The price. The price tells you all, and the price is all that you need to know.
The price is, the fight between all the entrepreneurs trying to give the value to you.
Yes.
Where one entrepreneur is like, oh, I'm gonna take $11, and the other is like, I can take 10.
Yeah. And then that price tells you, see, the price of a commodity, the market price of a commodity, that price tells you everything that is happening about that commodity in the world.
Yep.
A mine collapses in Nigeria, the price goes up. And that just means that coal has become a little bit more scarce. Why has it become scarce? If you're curious, Google, but you don't need to know.
You don't need to know.
You can run a steel plant without knowing.
Yeah.
And that makes your life so much easier. That's such a great convenience to have. And that makes your life livable. And this is where I would bring in another epistemology point. It condenses, it concretizes all this vast information into a single unit that can be dealt with and monetarily compared with other units, that you have all of the world's knowledge now at your hand and at your disposal to be able to work.
What do you feel about folks who say, that they don't like the fact that, price is a scalar quantity?
As in?
So
what will be the direction of a vector in price?
I feel like when they say, it should be a vector quantity or whatever, I feel like they're confusing price and value.
They're also
because
making
effectively like my subjective value of Coke is a vector quantity.
How so?
It has n dimensions. Like I care about Coke, it's a value, right? I care about Coke so and so much because the taste is nice. That's one dimension.
Oh,
the other dimension.
I get it. Yeah, that's the valuation.
The other dimension is that it's calorie. Right.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, but
price and value are not the same thing.
Yeah. So I feel like they're really confusing price and value.
Yes, price is my communicating to you, and we comparing simply ordinary.
Yeah. I feel like price is like it's more of a
communication tool.
Yeah.
And its entire job is to make it as simple as possible to communicate. Nobody cares why I like Coke. Can you give me 10 of these for Coke? Do you like Coke more than 10 of these or 10 of these more than Coke?
And it's great that I can compare them.
Yeah.
Because then it's a summary. Yeah. Right. Okay. Maybe when one was little, he used to like have a lot of diet cokes, and he has nostalgic value.
Yeah.
He might pay $1 more.
Yeah.
For each can. I don't know.
Yeah. Diet Coke is a capitalist value.
I'm pretty sure like Das Capital is a capitalist value.
If you can sell it.
Like someone's selling it.
Someone's selling it. Yeah. Though you could make the argument that they should. Yeah.
We should sell that.
It will sell though. We should sell Rothbard more. True. Yeah. But whatever sells is what sells. So you can't really control it. You could convince people. That's the only indirect way you control the market through the power of persuasion, right? Okay. Fundamentally, in a system in which knowledge of relevant facts is dispersed among many people, prices can act to coordinate the separate actions of different people in the same way subjective values help to do something. Uh, Subjective values help individuals to coordinate parts of his plan. It is worth contemplating for a moment a very simple and commonplace instance of the action of the price system to see what precisely it accomplishes. Assume that somewhere in the world a new opportunity for the use of some raw material, say tin, has arisen, or that one of the sources of supply of tin has been eliminated. It does not matter for our purposes, and it is very significant that it does not matter which of these two causes has made the tin more scarce. I'm going to pause and I'm going to say one thing. Do you see, you know, he has added more pauses here.
He's gotten better.
It's gotten better. And this is, I believe, as we are going through the paper,
we are also getting better at reading it. Like
we probably are, but I do think, you know, after he got through, like, he probably sat to write down an academic paper and he started with a very academic tone and way of writing. And then there's a little bit of Hayek the man, the emotion showing in. And there's like, listen to me, you little shit. It's not important why it happened. It happened. It became more scarce. It's not important why. You're listening to me.
But he still has far too much poise and like content.
Oh, because that's the man.
Yeah.
That's the man. He's a knowledgeable man. He's a great man in this way. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can see more of the man here.
Like
and less
he's
of the
tired by here.
Yeah.
This brain is tired, but it's functioning.
Yeah. It does not matter for our purposes, and it is very significant that it does not matter. Which of these two causes has made the tin more scarce? All that the users of tin need to know is that some of the tin that they used to consume is now more profitably employed elsewhere, and that in consequence, they must economize tin. There is no need for the great majority of them to even know where the more urgent need has arisen, or in favor of what other needs they ought to husband the supply. If only some of them know directly of the new demand and switch resources over to it, and if the people who are aware of the new gap thus created in turn fill it from still other sources, the effect will rapidly spread throughout the whole economic system and influence not only all the uses of tin, but also those of its substitutes and the substitutes of these substitutes, the supply of all these things made of tin. I.e., we are doing that. We are creating marginal equilibrium everywhere through the price system, and so on, and all his without the great majority of those instrumental in bringing about these substitutions knowing anything at all about the original cause of these changes. The whole acts as one market, not because any of its members survey the whole field, but because their limited individual fields of vision sufficiently overlap so that many intermediaries through many intermediaries the relevant information is communicated to all. The mere fact that there is one price for any commodity, or rather that local prices are connected in a manner determined by the cost of transport, etc., brings about a solution which it which it is just conceptually possible, might have been arrived at one single mind possessing all information, which in fact dispersed, which is in fact dispersed by all people involved in the process. So, we come back and we say that, okay, what you're trying to solve through practical omniscience, what you're trying to solve through by omniscience in a single command economy system, the way you actually solve that problem is by leaving it to the market, by leaving it to the individuals. And everybody has an individual field of knowledge, and those fields intersect, and this guy intersects with this guy, this guy, this guy, and that connects the whole of the human population. Perhaps not North Korea, but whatever. But it connects the whole of the human population together, and that communicates to everybody what they need to know, and that creates the best possible marginal allocation of resources to meet as many preferences as is humanly possible.
That's true.
Right? So how do you build a rational economic order or something as closed as possible to it? Through the market.
Set the market free.
Set the market free, and that's the only way you could do it.
Set those fuckers free for once.
For once. At least, man, come on. Maybe one country, just give us one.
They gave us the United States, but they gave it.
Not truly. It was at its best after the abolition of slavery and before the Federal Reserve. That was the best period to have been.
I mean, I was gonna say they gave it to us with slavery, but they gave it to us.
Yeah, but even after slavery, before 1913, slavery to 1913 was pretty close, and especially the Wild West was pretty close. So we did have something like the US certainly is a great example of a nation built by the market, in a lot of ways. And the spirit still lives on implicitly in the US, though it's been eaten alive by fascists and communists all the time nowadays. So, but it's there, and hopefully it can be revived.
And the 10 point is something that you already went on. It's the whole point that, okay, given a car, we have built it with steel or titanium, and it's the price that helps make it all, right?
Yeah. And it's the price the price is everything there. We must look at the price system as such a mechanism for communicating information if we want to understand its real function. A function which, of course, it fulfills less perfectly as prices grow more rigid. Even when quoted prices have become quite rigid, however, the forces which would operate through changes in prices still operate to a considerable extent through changes in other terms of the contract. The most significant fact about this system is the economy of knowledge with which it operates, or how little the individual participants need to know in order to be able to take the right action. In abbreviated form, by a kind of symbol, only the most essential information is passed on, and passed on only to those concerned. It it is more than a metaphor to describe the price system as a kind of machinery for registering change, or a system of telecommunications which enables the individual producers to watch merely the movement of a few pointers, as an engineer might watch the hands of a few dials, in order to adjust their activities to changes of which they may never have known more than is reflected in the price movement. Of course, these adjustments are probably never perfect in the sense in which the economist conceives of them in his equilibrium analysis. But I fear that our theoretical habits of approaching the problem with the assumption of more or less perfect knowledge on the part of almost everyone has made us somewhat blind to the true function of the price mechanism, and led us to apply rather misleading standards in judging its efficiency. The marvel is that a case like that of scarcity of one raw material, without an order being issued, without more than perhaps a handful of people knowing the cause, tens of thousands of people whose identity could not be ascertained by months of investigations, are made to use the material or its products more sparingly, i.e., that is, they move it in the right direction. This is enough of a marvel that even if in a constantly changing world, not all will hit it off so perfectly that their profit rates will always be maintained at the same constant normal level. Hmm. You know, the same point moved forward, and once again, jabbing to the economists that, hey, they're not looking at idealized, almost a platonic sense of perfection here. We're not looking at what if things were without complete flaw. We're looking at perfection in the real world, as perfect as it should be, you know, good enough. And the enough is from a standard of production, right? Like from a standard of production and consumption for everyday people, it's good enough, it's perfect. And the market delivers that good enough, you know, and the perfection that you seek will never be delivered anyway. The market can deliver the best good, and that is the perfect, in my opinion, right? And that is, you know, what it is that is being talked about here, I would say. And of course, like the economists, at least the economists of the day, I've not kept up with economics today, so to know if the critique holds true. I mostly keep myself in Austrian circles, so I don't know mainstream economics that much. But the economists of his day, they certainly are viewing the world in this way that he's describing. And he's saying, no, you're missing the picture. You're missing the whole point of this endeavor of economics. Right? And he's pointing you towards that direction, that it is this decentralized exchange of knowledge through the pricing mechanism. That is the entire thing, you know. Now, how many pages left?
Well, I believe, let's see, there's this, and
We're done.
we're done. So we're almost done
Yeah.
here, right?
One before.
We're almost done.
Yeah, there. You go forward now.
Okay, friend.
Hmm.
I have deliberately used the word marvel to shock the reader out of the complacency with which we often take the working of this mechanism for granted. I'm convinced that if I were the result of deliberate human design, and if the people guided by the price changes understood that their decisions have significance far beyond their immediate aim, this mechanism would have been acclaimed as one of the greatest triumphs of the human mind. Its misfortune is the double one, that is, not the product of human design, and that the people guided by it usually do not know why they are made to do what they do. But those who clamor for conscious direction and who cannot believe that anything which has evolved without design and even without our understanding it should solve problems which we should not be able to solve consciously should remember this. The problem is precisely how to extend the span of out utilization of resources beyond the span of the control of any one mind, and therefore how to dispense with the need of conscious control and how to provide inducements which will make the individual do the desirable thing without anyone having to tell what to do. The problem which we meet here is by no means peculiar to economics, but arises in the connections with nearly all true social phenomena. Yeah. With language, with most of our cultural inheritance and constitute, oh my bad. And it's early morning and constitutes really the central theoretical problem of all social sciences. As Alfred Whitehead has said in another connection, it is profoundly erroneous truism repeated by all copybooks and by eminent people when they are making speeches that we should cultivate the habit of thinking what we are doing. The precise opposite is the case. Civilization advances by extending the number of important operations which can be performed, which we can perform without thinking about them. That's very profound. This is one of profound significance in the social field. We make constant use of formulas, symbols, and use and rules whose meaning we do not understand. And through the use of which we avail ourselves the assistance of knowledge which individually we do not possess. We have developed these practices and institutions by building upon habits, institutions, and institutions which have proved successfully in their own sphere and which have in turn become the foundation of the civilization we have built up. The price
Let's
system.
stop there. Let's stop there. I want to
Okay.
talk about this
All right. This
because
this this reminds me of AI. It's very contemporary. It's
Mhm.
very relevant.
Uh-huh. How so? How so?
Well, you know how like when you were last building your website with Claude,
Yeah.
how much did you think of that one JavaScript function that you needed?
Oh, for sure. In that sense, I agree. And I think I agree if that is the sense in which this is meant. And this is where I was like trying to understand, look, what does he mean by this? But now that you have said that, in that sense, I would agree that, and we can keep it back to civilization, right? Like today, I don't need to think about how my food is produced. You know, it's a funny joke in the libertarian community that people who believe in socialism believe that food comes from the supermarket, that it's just there. And but in truth it's a great civilizational achievement that food just is at the supermarket. I don't need to think about it. And food, water, shelter, the internet, I don't need to think about the internet. And and as Aditya pointed out, that I built a website and I built it using Claude. And Claude just did it for me. I just talked to it in plain English for a while and it did it for me. Right. And I didn't need to know the ins and outs of programming. He's a far better programmer than I am. Right. But I was able to build a good enough website without, you know, knowing all of that. And that is the advancement of civilization in a sense, right? I don't need to know as much to do much more. I would then say, by the way, that frees up my mind to know and do even more, right? So we shouldn't just stop thinking, but we should stop thinking about like when a certain problem becomes so ubiquitous that you stop thinking about it in the everyday sense, when it fades into the background, when it has been quote unquote solved. That is an achievement of civilization, and that's something it is. And I would say to all of you that stop and think about these things, and those are things to be really thankful for.
Yeah. That's a when you live out your life as a young person, you think the world is out to get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be scammed here. I'm gonna be ripped off here. Someone wants to loot me there. And then you look at the world from a capitalist perspective, and you realize, fuck, these really brilliant people are working day and night to make my life somehow better.
Oh yeah. And that's how that the world is out to help you.
And they would have certainly made my life better if they didn't have patents. But
Yeah.
it's still better than it not existing
Yeah,
at
for
all.
sure. For sure. The
Like insulin would have been far more cheaper without patents. But
yeah,
at least it exists.
at least it exists. Yeah. Even in our less than perfect system, at least things are being done, and like things are being made better in that sense. Uh, Another goddamn all-nighter gonna make myself sick. Let's keep going.
All right.
Yeah.
The price system is just one of those formations which man has learned to use, though he's still very far from having learned to make best use of it. After he had stumbled upon it without understanding it, though It not only a division of labor, but also a coordinated utilization of resources based on equally divided knowledge has become possible. The person who like to deride any suggestions that this may be so usually distort the argument by insinuating that it asserts that by some miracle, just that sort of system has spontaneously grown up, which is best suited to modern civilization. It is the other way around. Man has been able to Man has been able to develop that division of labor on which our society is based on because he happened to stumble upon a method which made it possible. Had he not done so, he might have developed some other altogether different type of civilization, something like the state of the termite ants or some other altogether unimaginable type. All that we can say is that nobody has yet succeeded in designing an alternative system in which certain features of the existing one can be preserved, which are dear even to those who most violently assail it, such as particularly the extent to which the individuals can choose his pursuit and consequently freely use his knowledge and skill.
And this is something, uh, it's a very objectivist point to be made, in the sense that it is not that the world is made for us, it's that we are made for the world. When people say, why is there so much order in the universe? It's often used as an argument for God. There's order in the universe. It's not that, there was some central entity which thought, oh, we got to make the universe ordered so that when humans look at it, they see something that makes sense. It's that the universe was as it was, which allowed the conditions for a species such as humans to emerge, and they emerged in the evolutionary competition of this universe, and they are perfectly suited to live in this universe, and therefore to them this universe seems ordered.
That's true.
Right? If the universe was another way, another type of species would have arisen, or none at all. Probably on other planets other species have arisen, or none at all. It's us who are suited to the world, and not the world suited to us. And so is capitalism. It is us, it is the civilization that is around us, that is suited to human nature, that we are individualistic animals, and we have, because that is what distributed knowledge is. It is at the end of the day individualism, right? We are individuals, and we all have our own niches and specialties, and we trade, and that's how civilization can develop, and that's capitalism, right? If let's say we were of a different sort of organism, if let's say we were all connected telepathically, or we were ants, like we communicated collectively through pheromones, different types of systems would have emerged.
But like this is a challenging thing to argue for, you know? You might say that states have always existed.
No, that's not possible though.
States have existed for as long as money has.
No,
Money in the sense that money and state they've gone hand in hand.
no,
Why?
money was always prior, and it has to be.
So
And money,
so are you calling like gold money?
yes,
That way.
yes, and that is money.
But you see what I did there, right?
Yeah, but that's fiat money.
Yeah, you see what I meant there, right?
I mean, of course, states got to exist for state money, but
but like you also have to like argue against state soon enough.
yeah.
Someone's gonna come up to you, some fiat guy.
Oh, for sure. And see, and that's what I'm going to say, that the state, what it is, it's a parasitic relationship. And anthropologically, it began when tribes started conquering other tribes.
Yeah,
For the
thuggery.
Yeah, and for thuggery to be there, first there have to be the victims. So, of course, we don't know when in humanity the first state came about, but it was probably after the first free society came about. And they didn't think of it in those terms. They didn't think of themselves as states and free societies. To them, they're just animals doing what animals do. But now we know, you know. So
Last two pages, let's go.
let's go. Go ahead. You go ahead. My
It
throat's
is
done.
it is in many ways fortunate that the dispute about the indispensability of the price system for any rational calculation in a complex society is now no longer conducted entirely between camps holding different political views. The thesis that without the price system, we could not preserve a society based on such extensive division of labor as ours was greeted with a howl of, of derision,
Derision.
of derision when it was first advanced by von Mises 25 years ago. Today, the difficulties which some find still in accepting it are no longer mainly political, and this makes for an atmosphere much more conducive to reasonable discussion. When we find Leon Trotsky arguing that economic accounting is unthinkable without market relations, when Professor Oscar Lang promises Professor von Mises a statue in the marble halls of the future Central Planning Board, and when Professor Eba P. Lerner discovers Adam Smith and emphasizes that the essential utility of the price system consists in inducing the individual, while seeking his own interest, to do what is in the general interest. The differences can indeed no longer be ascribed to political prejudice. The remaining dissent seems clearly to be due to purely intellectual and more partial methodological differences.
One second. And I want to point something here, which is one thing which is curious is I would want to read more about this. So if anybody knows this, when this happened, uh, I want to read more about this because how can someone say something like this and be a communist, and that too like a high-ranking party member in the Soviet Union, right? So I want to know that. Perhaps that's why the Trotskyist got fucked over by Stalin later on. And but of course, like not a supporter of Trotsky, given what I know of him.
What do you know of him?
Uh, he internationalist communist, so he wanted a Soviet Union which invaded a lot of other countries to establish socialism there. Stalin was more of a socialism in one country kind of guy. That okay, we are going to build this country up for socialism and stuff like that. More nationalist socialist. Very close to practically the same as the Nazi boys.
All right.
Yep, and I also want to name this. This is a form of altruism. Like it is a fine enough statement, but it is a altruistic statement in a sense. You know, the essential utility of the price system is to induce the individual to, while serving his own end, do society's bidding. In effect, it's as if
I mean, it depends on the tone now. Like it's a very tonal thing. Who's saying it?
Yes, but Adam Smith. But Adam Smith was always a mixed bag.
I mean, I don't see Adam Smith saying altruistic service. I mean, I've not read him extensively, but the things that I've read, he's been pretty clear that man does not gain out of benevolence. Benevolence of let's say someone else. He gains it because he's useful to his fellow man.
Yes, but you see, there is always this need to be useful to others. Instead of saying, oh, he just gains.
But it's true in principle.
It is true.
Not in the sense that you're critiquing it.
It is true.
It's true in the sense that I don't get you won't like someone in the free market will not just give things to me because they feel kind.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, sometimes, but I don't accept.
Yes, but see, how I would have said it is that the essence of the price system is that a man can pursue his own interests and his own happiness, and in that given, advance the interests of others. The way he's putting it, that the individual is to be induced, to act selfishly, but still do the benefit. Like it's a way of saying it, which is some underlying altruism. He's still saying the right thing.
I'll have to read more, but from what I've read, I've more gathered that he's being very this worldly. He's being
He is.
like it's pretty base.
I'm just yes, it is, and especially for the time. Like without Adam Smith, there was no economics, right? At least before. And so we owe him a great debt of gratitude, but it's some holdovers from the past that he might have inside him. For example, even Newton believed in a god,
I'll have to look. I'll have to.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yes.
But this might be Professor Abba's take instead of Adams.
It may be.
A recent statement by Professor Joseph Schumpeter
Yes.
in his Capitalism, Socialism, and Democracy provides a clear illustration of one of the methodological differences which I have in mind. Its author is preeminent among those economists who approach economic phenomenon in the light of a certain branch of positivism. To him, these phenomena, accordingly, appear as objectively given quantities of commodities impinging directly upon each other. Almost, it would seem, without any intervention of human minds. Only against this background can I account for the following. To me, startling pronouncement. Professor Schumpeter argues that the possibility of a rational calculation in the absence of markets for the factor of production follows, for the theorist, from the elementary proposition that consumer is evaluating demanding consumers. Good ipso facto also evaluate the means of production which enter into the production of these goods. We'll have to come back to this. Taken literally, this statement is simply untrue. The consumer do nothing of the kind. What Professor Schumpeter ipso facto presumably
Presumably.
That's again pretty late. Pretty early.
Yeah, pretty late.
Pretty early now. Means is that the valuation of the factors of production is implied in or follows necessarily from the valuation of consumers' goods. But this too is not correct. Implication is a logical relationship which can be meaningfully asserted only of propositions simultaneously present to one and the same mind. It is evident, however, that the values of the factors of production do not depend solely on the valuations of the consumer's goods, but also on the conditions of supply and of the various factors of production. Only to a mind which all these factors are simultaneously known would the answer necessarily follow from the facts given to it. The practical problem, however, arises precisely because these facts are not so given to a single mind, and because, in consequence, it is necessary that the solution of the problem, knowledge, should be used that is dispersed among many people. So, first of all, what does Professor Schumpeter even argue?
Okay. So, what he's saying is from the elementary proposition that consumers, in evaluating consumers' goods, also evaluate the means of production which enter into these goods. So he's saying that when the consumer is, evaluating something, putting the price to something, he's also implicitly evaluating what went into the production. And Hayek says, no, the hell not. The consumer does not do this. And you could make it very clear how the consumer doesn't do this. How much you value this mobile phone has nothing to do with who made it, how they made it, when they made it, what they made it out of. You value it on what it can provide.
Let's say, okay, I see this. You're saying that, okay, you're getting to, dismissing the value theory of labor.
Yeah, it's the labor theory or any other
labor theory of value.
Yeah.
Holy shit, bro. I got
really late. We are practically drunk now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, like how much people worked on it or how much money that went into it, how much land that was used to it, what
Won't you say that that does bump up the price? Like there
no,
are
it
silent
doesn't.
considerations.
It doesn't.
But you gotta make profits off of it. So yeah.
Yes, no, no, no. But see, the price, by the way, you gotta sometimes sell at a loss too. If you're just stupid and you put too much into it and people didn't want it, then you got to sell it a lot to loss to clear the inventory to cut losses, you know. So the price is solely determined by what the consumer is willing to pay and what the producer is willing to accept it as. It's simply that double handshake. How you produce something and is completely irrelevant. Suppose I put my heart and soul into creating a coffee maker by hand, and nobody wants a handmade coffee maker, then I'm going to be selling it at the cost of the machine made coffee maker to great loss, and it's my fault.
You're saying that it's more to do with the fact that, if two people, let's say if there were more people who can produce the same quality of chips that the Taiwanese can,
Yeah.
even though it's one of the most difficult things that we build,
Yeah.
if just two parties, like more parties can build it, it's a difficult thing, but the price would fall. So the consumer doesn't care. That's
The
what you're saying.
consumer does not care.
Fair enough. It's just supply and demand.
Yes.
I agree.
Mhm.
Okay. The problem is thus in no way solved. If we can solve,
We can show.
I'm gonna come back. The problem is thus in no way solved if we can show that all the facts, if they are known to a single mind, as we hypothetically assume them to be given to the observing economist, would uniquely determine the solution. Instead, we must show how a solution is produced by the interaction of people, each of whom possess only partial knowledge. To assume all the knowledge to be given to a single mind in the matter in the same manner in which we assume it to be given to us as the explaining economist is to assume we're almost done, problem away and to disregard everything that is
Is it
important,
true?
significant.
Is the last one?
Yeah, it is the last one.
How do we
Yeah.
assume the? Okay.
I lost my train of thought. Okay. To assume all the knowledge to be given to a single mind, it's again the same stuff, right? Okay. Fair enough.
Mhm.
Okay. That an economist of Professor Schumter's standing should thus have fallen into a trap, which the ambiguity of the term datum sets to the I don't know what the fuck that is. Sets to the
Datum is just singular for data.
okay, okay.
So data is a lot of data.
Okay. I've not heard that.
Yeah.
To the unaware can hardly be explained as a simple error. It suggests that it suggests rather that there is something fundamentally wrong with an approach which habitually disregards an essential part of the phenomena with which we have to deal. The unavoidable imperfections of man's knowledge and the consequent need for a process by which knowledge is constantly communicated and acquired. Any approach such as that of much of mathematical economics, with its simultaneous equations, which in effect starts from the assumption that people's knowledge correspond with the objective facts of the situation, systematically leaves out what is our main task to explain. I am thus I am far from denying that in our system equilibrium analysis has a useful function to perform. But when it comes to the point where it misleads some of our leading thinkers into believing that the situation which it describes has direct relevance to the solution of practical problems, it is high time that we remember that it does not deal with the social process at all, and it is no more than a useful preliminary. to the study of the main problems.
Thank you.
Holy shit, we're finally done. I'm gonna sleep like a fucking baby, man.
Whosoever stayed till here, drop a text. Drop a text with me on Twitter. I'll send you $1.
$1?
I'll send them $1.
Send you a rupee.
Nah,
I'm gonna underbid you, motherfucker.
it's gonna take that. Someone's gonna take that for the laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna, you send me some money. The price system was invented for you to donate me money.
Yeah. I still need to set up a donation thing, by the way. I still haven't done that.
Ah.
We'll do that later. Right. Bye bye.
Right. See ya.
See ya.